Something that, of course, is on our mind this week is our dear, dear friend Chaim Gonen, son of Dalia, Chaim Gonen ben Dalia, who has COVID and is in the ICU. And it's been something weighing on all of us. Thank God we've heard some good news the last few days. There's definitely been improvement. And with God's help, with Hashem's help, he'll have a speedy recovery. I think one of the qualities we would all use to describe Gonen is he's a man of chesed, a man of kindness, looking to help. And the story of this week's Parsha is really the story of who Gonen is. And I think it's so appropriate that we're thinking about him and we're davening for him. And he's inspiring us, and he will continue to inspire us for many decades to come. In this week's Parsha, we find the first question that Jews ask. You know, we're a nation of questions. We're always asking questions. We're always challenging. And that's the way we should be. That's the way we have to be. That's the way we're taught to be. So, one of the first mitzvot that we're given is the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, bringing the Paschal lamb. And we're told that you take a lamb for the family. And the Torah says, V'im yimat habayit miyot miseh. If the house is too small for a lamb, not in terms that you can't fit the lamb in the house, but you don't have enough people in the house to eat the entire lamb. It's an animal. You don't have, you need a large group. You're only five people, you're only 10 people. What do you do? That's the question that Jew asks. You tell me to bring a Korban Pesach, you tell me to bring the Paschal lamb. What happens if I have too much? And the answer is, bring your friends in, bring other people, bring your neighbors. In other words, the first question a Jew has to ask in life is, what do I do with all that God's given me? God's given me more than I need. Hashem gave me more than I need. I don't need all this. What do? I have a plentifulness. I have so much. And the answer is share with others. That's how a Jew has to think. I have, what can I do for somebody else with it? I've shared many times that I had the privilege of growing up in a home where the question we heard from our father most often is, what can I do to be of help to you? In fact, the night after my father passed away, I sat down with my sisters and I said, I'm going to say a eulogy tomorrow at the funeral. What should I say? And they both said, which was of course what's going through my mind as well, that the words we heard from Daddy most were, what can I do to be of help to you? No matter what it was. When I was living in Dallas, I'd get a phone call from my father a month, 2 months before coming to New York. I heard you coming to New York. What can I do to be of help to you? What do you need? Do you need to be picked up from the airport? Do you need a pack and play for your child? Do you need something else? What can I do? In the hospital, when he was so ill at the end of his life, he was in the ER, rushed to the ER, and he couldn't pick up his hand. He was so weak. My sister had to feed him. But he turned to her and he said, it might sound silly, but what can I do to be of help to you? That's a person of this week's Parsha. I can't possibly use all that I have. What can I do with all of it? I'm just here collecting stuff. I'm here collecting money. I'm here collecting money to hoard away in my bank account. There's more than I need. What can I do? Like a very generous man told me recently when I was meeting with him, he said, he's a man in his low 70s. Hopefully he'll live and be well for another 4 or 5 decades. He said, eventually I'm going to go. I'm not going to take it with me. I might as well use it well. And he's using it to help his family. He's using it to help Dad out Plano, to help others in a very generous way. That's the thought process. The seminal moment when Jewish nation becomes, when we become Am Yisrael. We go from being a family, a large family, to becoming a nation. What's the first statement we make is, what do we do when we have too much? When we have more than we need, how can we help others? You know, we're going through COVID, and friends of mine, other rabbis told me, they said, one of the things they're very concerned about with COVID is the toll it would take on mental health. I remember a friend of mine in March, April, at the beginning when things were being locked down, what's going to be with the mental health of the people? They need to get out. They need to be with others. They need to have a sense of security. And at the time, I was like, thank God things were pretty quiet in Plano. I thought this being a little extreme. I was on the lookout for it, but I didn't think that was the biggest issue. But let me tell you, after 10, 11 months of COVID, it's weighing down on people. It really is. Some people are terrified of the health risk. Some people are devastated by the loss that we've seen or by illness that others have gone through. Some people have taken a financial hit. Some people just the stress of not being able to be out and about, not being able to have their kids get together with other friends like they used to. Or not being able to come to shul on Shabbos because we don't have programming for the children. It's taking a toll on people. If you're in a place where you can think about somebody else, where you have the plentifulness of peace of mind, I don't mean financially, you have peace of mind, you have health, reach out to somebody else. Call somebody. Call somebody maybe you haven't thought about in a while, you haven't spoken to in a while, somebody you think might be going through a stressful time. Don't stand on ceremony. Don't say they haven't called me, or I'm older, or what. No. Call the other person. On Friday afternoons, my father used to sit by the phone in his bedroom, in my parents' bedroom, and he would make phone call after phone call, calling his list of forgotten people. People who were depressed, people who were stuck at home, people who were infirm, people who weren't well, people who had gone through difficulties in life. And he would do his best to put on it, even when he was ill, even when he was racked with pain, put on a voice, a cheerful voice. He would try to find things to engage them that were interesting to them, things that would bring them back to a good point in their life. That's what we have to do now. Are you able to make a meal for somebody else? Right now we have a meal train. There are people that need help, families where people are not well, or people are dealing with challenging times. Make a meal. If you can't make a meal, for whatever reason, if you're not in Texas, there are ways we can get a meal to somebody. You can participate. What can I do for other people? How can I share my talents, my capabilities, my wealth, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional? How can I share it with other people? That's the question I always have to be thinking every day. What did I do to help other people? I challenged one of my children years ago. I said, at night when you go to sleep, think about how did you positively impact one person? Did you smile at the cashier at the local grocery? Were you nice to the waitress when she was serving you, and did you say something kind? Whatever it is. Did you hold the door for somebody? How did you make the world a better place? How can you be kinder to somebody else? Now is not the time to settle old scores, to think about what people owe you, what you have coming to you. Now, what can I do for somebody else? What can I do for other people? I had the privilege, I think I may have mentioned this in a drasha a number of months ago, of having a Rebbe, having a teacher, who was a man who was, besides being a great Torah scholar, he was a person who was a powerful person in terms of giving inspiration to others. He was a powerful presence, physically and emotionally. And when you were around him, you felt bigger. And at the end of his life, when he was very ill, we were devastated. And I remember going to visit him in the hospital, what ultimately was the day before he passed away. And here he was, so ill, he couldn't even lift his head off the pillow. He couldn't move his body up to sit more comfortably. His children had to pull him up. But yet he turned to me in a hoarse voice and he said, "No, was Herzach," which is Yiddish for what's doing. At the time I was single, and I knew he wanted to know, did I meet somebody? Was I dating somebody? And I had just begun dating my wife. And in a hoarse voice, with a little bit of strength that he had left, he started telling me, "Don't worry," as if in his mind he thought I was worried that I was still single. "Don't worry. Someone studying in yeshiva today is a hot commodity. People want to marry someone studying in yeshiva." He said, "When I was single, he was an immigrant. He had come over to the United States after World War II. Nobody wanted to marry a budding scholar, somebody who was going to become a rabbi. No one was interested in that." He said, "Don't worry. They're going to grab you." It's the last bit of strength. What was his thought? How can I inspire another person? What can I do to help another person? That's the way that we have to live. That's the way we form a nation. That's how Klal Yisrael is formed. That's how we start. That's how it all begins. think about another person. What can you do? That's my challenge to you. Shabbos is coming. What can you do this week or this weekend or this Shabbos to inspire, to help another person? Go visit somebody. Say hello to somebody. People sometimes feel forgotten or they feel ignored. We don't realize the power of our own personalities. We look at ourselves and who am I? I'm shy. I'm quiet. I'm not a powerful personality. I'm not some big popular person. But you know what? To somebody else, you're important. And it means something to them if you go over and you say hello to them, you say good Shabbos to them, you spend a little time with them. We get in our heads, we all think that, what difference do I make? And then, why is the other person ignoring me? Instead of allowing people to think about why am I ignoring them, reach out to them. Reach out to one person. Do something for somebody. You know, somebody needs something, bring it to them. Whatever it might be. That's what the Jewish nation is formed on. And that's going to be the merit for Chaim Gonen ben Dalia. I can't tell you how many times over the years Chaim Gonen has called me and said, Rabbi, how can I help somebody? I got some extra money as a bonus. Who needs help in the community? Rabbi, who needs food to be cooked for them? Who could I invite to my house? How can I teach my children about Chesed? What can I do? And he tells me, he's shared with me over the years beautiful things he's done and involved his children in them. Wonderful ways of teaching Chesed. That's what we want to do. Teach others. Teach your children. Involve your children. I shared that with somebody recently. I said, think about Chesed you can do that involves your children. Involve them. That's the greatest lesson. And that's what teaching them to be a Jew. Of course you have to teach them Torah. Of course you have to teach them how to live as a Jew and teach them mitzvahs and give them experience of a mitzvah and the joy of a mitzvah. In addition, also, involve them in Chesed. Do Chesed. I was meeting with a young couple who have very young children. And they said, we'd love to volunteer for the community, we'd love to do things, but we don't have time. I said, what you should do right now is focus on your family, but find Chesed activities that you can involve your children in and do those for other people. Cook a meal, have your children involved in the cooking process. Make sure they wash their hands first. Have them involved in cooking, in preparing the food, in delivering the food. This is what we need to do as Klal Yisrael. This is how we become that shining light to the nations. And this is the lesson that Chaim Gonen ben Dalia has taught us. And let's take on an act of Chesed. Let's do an act of Chesed. An act of Chesed, something nice, something beautiful, something meaningful, something that's going to warm the heart of somebody else. Let's do this weekend, today, tomorrow, Shabbos. And that'll be a merit, a zchus, that we'll be able to have Chaim Gonen ben Dalia back home, back in our community, back in our shul, rejoicing with us and telling his funny jokes, as somebody said recently, the Mrs. jokes. Let us have that. Let's take on this merit, this mitzvah, and this will bring him back home quickly. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and where we only hear wonderful news about Chaim Gonen and about all of us. Good Shabbos.